Elements, compounds, and mixtures. Section 1. Elements. Key concept. An element is made up of only one type of atom and can be classified by a unique set of properties.
As you read this section, keep in mind what you will learn. An element is a pure substance in which there is only one kind of atom. An element cannot be broken down into a simpler substance by physical or chemical means. Each element can be classified by a unique set of physical and chemical properties. Based on their properties, elements are classified as metals, nonmetals, or metalloids. Why it matters. All of the matter that you see or use in your daily life is composed of elements. In this section, you will learn the following new vocabulary: element, pure substance, metal, nonmetal, metalloid.
Imagine that you work for the Break It Down company. Your job is to break down materials into simpler substances. So far, breaking down materials has been easy. But one morning, you get a material that is very hard to break down. First, you try to break it down by using physical changes, such as crushing and melting. But these do not change the material into something simpler. Next, you try using chemical changes, such as those caused by passing an electric current through a material. These changes do not break down the material either. Why not? Elements, the simplest substances. You were unable to break down the material described above because the material is an element. An element is a pure substance that cannot be separated into simpler substances by physical or chemical means. In this section, you'll learn about elements and the properties that help you classify them. Only one kind of atom. Elements are pure substances. A pure substance is a substance in which all of the building block particles are identical. For elements, the building block particles are called atoms and are much too small for us to see. For example, every atom in a 5-gram piece of the element gold is like every other atom of gold. The particles of a pure substance are alike no matter where the substance is found, as shown in Figure 1. Classifying elements. Each element can be classified by its unique set of properties. For example, each element has its own characteristic properties. These properties do not depend on the amount of the element present. Characteristic properties include physical properties and chemical properties. Examples of physical properties are hardness, melting point, and density. Examples of chemical properties are reactivity and flammability. Two elements may have a property in common, but properties other than the common property can help you tell the elements apart. For example, the elements helium and krypton are both unreactive gases. However, the densities, or mass per unit volume, of these elements differ from each other. Helium is less dense than air. If a helium-filled balloon is set free, it will float up into the air. Krypton is denser than air. If a krypton-filled balloon is set free, it will sink to the ground. Identifying elements by their properties. Look at the elements shown in Figure 2. These 3 elements have some properties in common, but each element can be identified by its unique set of properties. In Figure 2, notice that melting point, electrical conductivity, and density are physical properties. Other physical properties, such as color, hardness, thermoconductivity, and texture, could be added to the list. Chemical properties might also be useful. For example, some elements, such as hydrogen and carbon, are flammable. Other elements, such as sodium, react with oxygen at room temperature. Grouping elements. Think about how many different breeds of dogs there are. Now, think about how you tell one breed from another. Most often, you can tell just by the appearance or by some physical properties of the dogs. Figure 3 shows 3 kinds of terriers. Many terriers are fairly small in size and have short hair. Not all terriers are alike, but they share enough properties to be classified in the same group. Categories of elements. Like terriers, elements are grouped into categories according to shared properties. There are 3 major categories of elements: metals, nonmetals, and metalloids. The elements iron, nickel, and cobalt are all metals. Not all metals are exactly alike, but they do have some properties in common. Metals are shiny and they conduct heat and electric current. Nonmetals make up the second category of elements. They do not conduct heat or electric current, and solid nonmetals are dull in appearance. Metalloids, which have properties of both metals and nonmetals, make up the last category. Some metalloids, but not all, conduct heat or electric current. Categories are similar. Imagine being in a music store. The CDs are grouped by the type of music. If you like rock and roll music, you would go to the rock and roll section. You might not know every CD, but you know that the music on a CD in the rock and roll section has many of the characteristics of rock and roll music. By knowing the category to which an unfamiliar element belongs, you can predict some of the element's properties. Figure 4 shows some examples of each category of elements and describes the properties that define each category.